Magandang gabi, sir. Query lang kung visible na po ang aking slide.
Yes, sir. Visible na po.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, sirs, ma'am. I am Bert Zepeda Dolot, and I will be reporting the Chapter 7, which is Constraint on Managers. For the learning objectives, I have 4 contrast the actions of managers according to the omnipotent and symbolic views. Describe the constraints and challenges facing managers in today's external environment. Discuss the characteristics and importance of organizational culture, and describe current issues in organizational culture. First, sir, when I read my topic, tinignan ko kung paano ko siya ma-relate sa aking work, no? So, for the first question is, how much difference does a manager make in how an organization perform? So, ang una ko naalala is yung sinabi ni Joseph Conrad na he is the commanding officer, he is the ship. So, ibig sabihin nito is kung ano yung intention ng commander, ng commanding officers. May comment po ba? Kaka-start ko lang. Yun, kung ang sabi nga he is the commanding officer, he is the ship. So kung ano man yung intention ng commander, kung ng CEO ng barko, doon tumutungo yung barko. Depende sa personality niya. Kung siya ba ay very strict, so magiging very strict din yung implementation ng mga policies niya sa barko. Kung siya ay very maluwag naman, so iba rin yung nagiging way kung paano nagpe-perform yung kanyang unit. So the difference in an organization's performance is assumed to be due to the decision ng ating mga manager. Yung mga good manager, sinasabi nila, can anticipate change, exploit opportunities, correct poor performances, and lead the organizations. Sa larangan naman ng commercial, pag sinabi nila na mataas daw yung benta, for example, maganda yung benta ng isang company. So, sinasabi nila na magaling yung manager. So, pag bagsak naman yung company, so yun lang. Sa manager din nagre-reflect yung status ng company. So, the next topic is there are 2 kinds of manager.
Si Juan. Yes. Makatapos na siguro lahat kasi si first group tapos na eh.
To continue, sir, there are 2 kinds of manager, the omnipotent or symbolic. So, paano ko ba siya na-relate para madali natin maintindihan? So, I relate yung isang omnipotent manager bilang isang Superman. So, bakit Superman? Kasi sinasabi na ang isang omnipotent manager ay all-powerful and he have all the controls over all aspects ng kanyang organization. They have the ability to shape and direct the organization kung saan man niyang gusto. On the other hand naman, nire-relate ko naman ang symbolic view of management sa isang royalty ng, for example, royalty ng UK. Yan, for example dyan, si Queen Elizabeth. So, she only stands a symbolic figure, pero actually, yun kapatakbo nung country is yung Prime Minister. At the same time, maraming factors na nag-affect dun sa pamamalakad ng isang organization. So when they say the omnipotent view of management, so responsible siya for the success or failure ng organization. Sabi nga, he's a all-powerful and complete control over all aspects of organization and the ability to shape and direct the organization as they see it. Then yung symbolic view, again, the view of management suggests that it has limited control over the organization. Hindi sa kanya pinapatong lahat ng sisi kapag nagkaroon ng problema. Dahil maraming factors din ng nag-affect sa kanyang decision making tulad ng economy, political climate, social trends, mga ganung bagay. So kapag sinasabi na omnipotent manager ka, so ano bang yung term sa kanya? So dapat pag ikaw kung sa'yo nakasalalay lahat ng sisi sa isang organization, so kailangan ikaw ay proactive dahil para ma-anticipate mo lahat ng magiging problema para hindi mabuntong sa yung sisi ng company. While yung ano naman, yung mga symbolic view naman ng mga manager, so they are expected to be a good communication, establish positive relations with stakeholders, and project an image of competence and stability. Since maraming ang nag-affect doon sa decision making ng isang symbolic view of management. Put a constraint on managerial discretions. So hindi naman talaga all-powerful yung isang manager. Hindi rin siya helpless. Dahil may maraming factors na nag-affect sa kanyang decision making. So nandyan yung organizational environment, which refers to the external factors that affect the organization, including competitors, customers, suppliers, economic conditions, political and legal regulations, technological advancements. The organizational environment can impact managerial discretion by limiting the options available to managers, shaping their priorities, influencing their decision making. And the other factor is yung organizational culture. This refers to the shared values, belief, norms, and behaviors that characterize an organizations. So what are the external component that affects the decision making ng isang organizations? So there are, isa dyan yung political or legal. It involves analyzing the impact of government policies and regulations, both domestically and internationally. So tulad ng last administration, we shifted from a I believe US-centric na side to a more balanced na kinakaibigan din natin yung mga Chinese. So yung foreign policy ng ating ng government strictly affects yung decision making ng bawat companies. Next is yung demographics, which includes yung age, race, gender, education, the geographic location, income, and family compositions ng mga tao. Then the other one is the economics. So this one is a key component since it factors the interest rates, inflations, changes in disposable income, the stock market, and other economic considerations. So yung mga companies dapat aware sila na these factors affects yung behavior ng consumer, the purchasing power since pag tumaas ng inflation, so tumataas ang presyo. So pag tumataas ang presyo, lumilit ang value ng pera natin. Then the overall demand for products and services. The next factor is the socio-cultural component, which refers to societal and cultural factors that shape consumer behaviors and preferences. These factors include yung values ng tao, yung attitude niya, trends, traditions kung nasan man siya, lifestyles and belief. This includes religions, the taste and patterns ng behavior. So dapat yung business, they must be attuned to the factors to create products and services that resonate their target market. For example, when I was nung nakapunta ako ng isang exercise sa Indonesia, ang napansin ko doon is yung isang seafood chain doon is mahilig sila sa mga maanghang. So basically kasi yung mga tao doon sa Indonesia is mahilig sa spice. So they adapt their product para makapag-compete sila doon sa market. The next factor is the technological component, which is concerned with scientific or industrial innovations. The advances in technology can create new products and services, disrupt traditional industries, and alter the competitive landscape. So isa dito yung yung ginawa ni Elon Musk, yung Tesla car niya. So hindi ko lang sure kung siya yung pinakaunang gumawa ng Tesla car, pero nung gumawa siya nung Tesla car, so electricity to, so challenge niya yung automotive industry which uses petrol and diesel. The last component for external environment is the global component, which encompasses those issues associated with globalization and the world economy. Sabi nga nila hindi naman talaga sabi nga nila there's yung term doon, no man's an island. So pag minsan pag gumalaw yung US dollars depreciate, so damay-damay din yung mga ibang countries. So how does the external environment affect the managers? There are three which challenges the managers. The first one is the jobs and employments. So overall, tingin ko this is the most critical, since yung mga mga decision making ng managers ay umapekto sa jobs and employments. Isang major example nito yung sa nung nag-COVID. So nung nag-COVID, maraming mga companies ang nag-lay off ng mga employees niya. So yun, the same time nag-boom naman yung technology naman natin, which yun na nagkaroon na tayo ng mga online meetings, online employment. The other factors that challenges the managers yung environmental uncertainty. Dito sinasabi na hindi natin minsan malaman talaga kung paano maglalaro yung environment natin. So there are 2 degrees dun sa environmental uncertainty. The first degree is the degree of change. So the degree of change is sinasabi dito na kung ang company o ba natin ay frequently changing. So kung frequently changing daw yung company, so ito ay tinatawag na dynamic environment. Kapag hindi naman, ito daw ay isang stable na company. So ano nga ba daw yung mga stable company? So ito daw yung mga company na walang competitors. So konti lang yung technological breakthrough sa kanilang company. Tatlo, konti lang din yung little activity on pressure groups to influence the organizations. Then the next factor sa environmental uncertainty is yung the degree of complexity. Which kasama dito kung gaano ka kung gaano ka-simple or complex ang iyong organization. So may mga, for example, may mga organization na may mga parang sub company pa, 'di ba? Hindi naman 'yun ang nakakaapekto sa kumbaga parang very sophisticated yung isang company na maraming factors na nag-a-affect sa kanya. Hindi siya tulad, for example lang, tindahan. So isang sari-sari store. So yun, isang simple lang siya na na company. The last factor that affects the decision making ng isang manager is yung mga stakeholders. So ano-ano nga ba yung mga stakeholders ng isang organizations? So nandiyan yung employees, the shareholders ng companies, the communities na patronize sa kanyang product. Ulit lang to, company, employees, the suppliers ng kanilang products, yung mga social and political action groups, customers, the competitors ng mga organizations, for example, food chain ka, nandiyan yung Jollibee, nandiyan yung McDo and others. Trade and industry associations, ito yung government, so nag-affect to sa ito isa tong stakeholders sa ating organization. The media, since the media minsan kung ano yung pinapalabas ng media we try to cope up dun sa trends sa media and the labor unions. So what is a organizational culture? Organizational culture is described as the shared values, principles, traditions, and ways of doing things that influence the way organizational member act and that distinguishes the organization from other organizations. Or in Tagalog, yung kabuuang katawagan sa mga kaisipan, kaugalian, tradisyon at gawain ng isang lipunan. So minsan, for example, may mga time na kung ano yung nagiging kaugalian natin, yun yung nagiging culture natin. So there are the dimension of the organizational culture. So meron tong 7. So the first one is attention to detail. Ito yung the degree to which employees are expected to exhibit precision analysis and attention to details. So sinasabi nga dati kong boss na the devil is in the detail. Kung ang organization mo ay keen sa detail, so nagiging nagiging part siya ng culture. The next is the innovation and risk-taking, which states ito yung degree to which employees are encouraged to be innovative and take risk. So kapag yung mga personnel natin is very sila, kumbaga parang creative. So nagiging risk taker, nagiging partner rin ng culture natin. The next is the stability, which is the degree to which organizational decisions and actions emphasize in maintaining the status quo. So kung stability is kung parang kung may mga problema sa isang organization is nakita natin kung nagiging
server. Sir, sorry for excuse lang po. Kindly switch the display settings of the screen. Ano po siya? Yan, okay na ba?
Yun, baligtad pala kanina. So yung sabi ko nga sir, yung stability sir, no? So kahit na anong problema dun sa nangyari sa isang company is kung stable yung managers niya, leadership niya, is magiging part yun ng kultura ng isang company. Next is the aggressiveness, the degree to which employees are aggressive and competitive rather than cooperative. So kung yung mga personnel nga natin ay very masigasig, no? So nagiging part siya ng kultura ng isang company. Na-adapt yun ng bawat isa sa isang company. Next is being a team orientation, which is the degree to which work is organized around teams rather than individuals. So mahirap gumawa mag-isa. Mas maganda yung isang team. So kapag yung isang organization they are maintaining is parang meron silang teamwork, so nagiging part din yun ng kanilang culture. Next is being a people-oriented, so degree to which management decisions take into actions the effects on the people on organizations. So ito yung mga time na hindi lang purely profit yung chine-check pinapahalagahan ng isang organizations. They also check kung ano na yung status nung kanilang mga personnel. So kung yung company si ganun, so nagiging part talaga siya ng nakikita yung nagiging part ng culture ng isang company yung pagiging isang people-centric or people-oriented. And the last is outcome orientation. So degree to which managers focus on results or outcomes rather than how sa outcomes are achieved. Sinasabi na na kahit saan ang gusto ko lang is makuha ko yung output. Hindi ko kahit na anong paraan nagawin mo basta makuha lang output. Yun yung type naman na dimension ng organizational culture. So how do we establish yung yung organizational culture sa isang company? Sabi nila, the culture starts with the founder. The same time, yung sabi ko nga kanina na for example i-relate ko siya sa sa Navy for example lang. The culture always starts with the CEO of the ship. So kung ano yung ugali ng CEO, ano yung mga pamamalakad niya, yun yung doon nag-start usually kasi minsan may culture na rin talaga yung barko pero most of the time kung ano yung traits ng CEO ng barko, yun yung na-adapt ng mga tropas ng barko. That is only my personal experience when I was assigned aboard ship. So after nung ma-found ma-establish nung isang founder, so there are other criteria na affect. So for example, dito rin pumapasok minsan yung how the employees are being selected. So minsan kung yung company ay for example bias sa isang sa pag-recruit ng tao. So minsan na-adapt yon, or for example they sumusunod sila sa tamang process ng recruitment. So yun yung nag-establish din ng culture. So sabihin kapag ako yung manager so sumusunod ako sa process, so nagiging ano siya, nagiging ang term nun, na-adapt siya ng mga bawat personnel na under sa akin at the same time ng mga succeeding personnel na ma-assign din sa akin. So, nakaka-affect din sa culture yung top management and socializations. So, siyempre sabi ko kanina, kung ano yung dikta minsan ng top management, yun na yung nagiging patakaran. So, yun na nagiging culture ng isang company. Then yung socialization, yun yung kung paano mag-interact yung mga personnel, employees sa isang organizations. Then sa dulo nun, so yun pag once na mag-incorporate na lahat yun, so that's the way na how yung culture natin sa isang organization is nabubuo. So for the last topics, yung issues on organizational culture. So there are, based on the reference, there are 3 issues. First is creating an innovative culture. So creating an innovative culture within an organization requires a combination of factors, including a clear vision, supportive environment, and willingness to take risk. So, paano ba masosolusyonan yung problem, paano mag-create ng innovative culture? So, first is we have to encourage open communications. So, encourage employees to share their ideas, thoughts, and concerns para at least mapaabot ng mga employees kung for example may problema ba sila, so masolusyonan. Kung meron silang bright ideas, pwedeng ma-implement. Another way to improve the innovative culture is to reward creativity. So ito minsan yung maganda, no? Once na meron kang nagawa na maganda, so sometimes there are rewards. Hindi for the sa Navy naman, hindi naman siya usually monetary values. So sa amin kapag may creative ka na nagawa sa isang company, sa isang organization, minsan binibigyan ka ng passes, leaves, no? Just to para lang pakita na they appreciate yung yung nagawa mo. So we should also embrace diversity. So diversity in workplace, so sabihin nito is pwedeng may bata, may matanda, may babae, may lalaki sa isang organizations dahil bawat tao naman talaga may kanya-kanya tayong skills and capabilities na pwede ring mag-unbag doon sa organizations. For example, yung matanda. So, yung sabi nila pag matanda ka na, nakapag-acquire ka na ng wisdom to na pwede mong i-share sa mga mas nakakabata sa'yo. Next is to create a learning environment. So we have to encourage culture of continuous learning, where employees are encouraged to learn new skills and stay up to date with industry trends. The other one is encourage experimentation. So paano nga ba nakakapag-create ng bago? So syempre through experimentation. For example lang, the US, I believe the US government, they are funding yung mga scientific experiment ng mga, for example, sa defense. So they support the defense industry for their research and development, for experimentations. Then doon sila naka-come up ng mga bagong, for example, sa Navy, is bagong ships, bagong weapons na mas advanced dun sa current capabilities ng mga kalaban, for example. Then we should set clear goals. So bakit nga ba tayo nag-set ng goal, no? Siyempre, para alam natin kung ano ba yung gusto nating maabot. Para din yang na we have to make a plan. So sabi nga kapag hindi ka nagplan, if you plan to fail, in term doon, yun eh. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So same din yun sa goal. So dapat meron kang goal, kasi kung hindi ka nag-set ng goal, hindi mo malalaman kung anong target mo sa isang organization. And foster collaboration, which is to encourage between different teams and departments. This creates opportunities for employees to work together and share their ideas. The next issue is creating a customer responsive culture. So creating a customer responsive culture is building a successful business. It involves creating an organizational culture that values and prioritizes customer needs, then ensures that all employees understands and embrace the customer-centric approach. So how do we create a customer responsive culture? So we can develop a customer focused vision. You see, to establish a clear vision that places the customer at the center of everything your organization does. This vision should guide all decision-making processes, from product development to customer service. So since ito nga isang customer responsive culture, so we should establish yung kung ano ba talaga yung gusto natin na ibigay sa ating mga customer. Next is to yung foster a customer-centric mindset. We have to encourage our employees to view the world through the customer's eyes. Hindi naman, sinasabi nga din nila na the customer is always right, pero tingnan din natin kung valid ba yung kung for example meron silang concern sa isang product natin. So dapat tingnan natin kung valid ba rin yung kanilang ni-raise na issue. Then empower your employees. Give your employees the tools and authority they need to serve customers effectively. So dapat wag tayong very micromanage. So we have to give leeway dun sa mga employees natin kung paano nila gawin minsan yung trabaho nila, paano sila mag-serve dun sa mga customers. Next is communicate effectively. Siyempre, ito yung pinaka-importante. So, kung hindi kayo nagko-communicate, paano natin malalaman na may problema pala? Di ba, sa isang organizations. Next is continuous improvement. So, continuous improvement means that which requires commitment to continuous improvement, which conduct regular review of customers' feedback, evaluate your processes and procedures, and look for ways to improve the customer experience. So, through feedback, malalaman natin ano ba yung mga lapses natin. So, ano pa yung mga ways na pwede nating i-improve, how to handle yung customers or how do we sell yung ating mga products. Yun pala yun. Customer feedback. The last issue is creating a sustainable culture. Creating a sustainable culture involves promoting environmental, social, economic sustainability in all aspects of the organization's operation, including the product or services policies, practices, and values. So dapat isip natin kung hindi lang pang one time na product, for example, dapat isip natin kung paano ba natin ma-sustain, kumbaga paano pa natin ma-improve, mapapalago yung ating products through having a sustainable culture. So how do we create a sustainable culture? So first, again, we should have a clear vision para alam natin kung ano ba ang gusto natin na ibigay or mapaabot sa ating mga magiging customer. So we should have goals. Again, our goal should be measurable. Kasi kung hindi natin kayang i-measure, hindi natin alam if we are actually moving dun sa pag-create ng ating culture. Next is educate and engage employees. So we should always ensure that our employees should be trained. They should be aware sa ating mga campaigns and other opportunities. And we should also encourage our employees na i-share nila yung kanilang ideas, questions, and recommendations for the improvement ng isang company. The next is the incorporate sustainability into the decision making. Since ito nga ay sustainable culture, so dapat alam natin kung always natin ino-consider yung sustainability ng isang process, for example, ng isang process. For example, yung pag-acquire ng ng barko natin. So hindi lang dapat siya one time na sa planning kasi natin hindi lang siya pagbili. So dapat pinaplan din natin how do we sustain, kung ito ba ay may pier, ito ba ay may full allocation, DPMS. So yun. So dapat tinasama natin yun, mga part na yun, para incorporate natin sa mga ginagawa natin para maging part na rin ng culture. Again, engage the stakeholders. Engaging with stakeholders, we should know kung ano yung kanilang concerns and interests. Since dun lang naman natin malalaman kung masustain ba natin yung product. Kasi kung trendy lang yan, at biglaan lang yung maglalaho. For example lang, yung mga products na biglaan na lang na sumisikat. So hindi natin alam kung magiging sustainable ba yun or it is just a one time big time na lang. na product. No. We should measure and report progress regularly. So sabi ko nga kanina, we should yung goal natin dapat measurable siya para malaman natin kung nagmo-move ba tayo o hindi. So sa kung hindi nagmo-move, so we have to make some catch up plan yun in terms sa Navy na narinig ko. So ibig sabihin lang nun, if you are delayed on a certain activity, you have to parang magano ka, gumawa ka ng plano para to cope up, ma-meet mo yung targets mo. And lastly is continuous improvement. So yun nga, through feedbacks and feedbacks ng mga customers. So dun lang naman natin malalaman kung mag-improve tayo, kung sustain yung ating mga products as part nung pagsusustain nung ating culture. So sir, for the chapter 7, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any questions, other inputs, no? For the chapter 7? So if none, let's just summarize, no? Basically, ang sinasabi lang nito is kung ano yung mga problems na pinakaharap ni managers, no? Tagalog, parang translate lang natin. Though, stated that it's a manager's constraint, obviously, si manager ang nagli-lead ng business, yung business din is affected, no? And as per Sir Bert, no? Narinig naman lahat ng challenges. And to add on to that, no? May narinig ako, like for example, yung aggressiveness. Though yung aggressiveness, yung kanina medyo hindi natin na-elaborate, but aggressiveness in terms of achieving goals, no? There's different type of aggressiveness. Some are risk-based, some are backed up with evidence. So may data stats siya bago siya mag-proceed. Yun lang naman, no? Eventually, all of the topics included in this chapter is, are well explained. And with that, thank you, Sir Bert, for the presentation. Right now, we have skipped yung chapter 6.1 to 6.4. So we'll give a chance to Ma'am Faye to present with this report. So for that, Sir Bert, you can now end your share screen, and then we'll proceed to Ma'am Faye's presentation, which is chapter 6.1 to 6.4. By the way, if you have any queries, you can put them on the chat box, and we can have discussion later on after the presenters report. Ma'am Faye, nakamute ka po ata.
So request permission to share screen po.
Yes po, you can share na po.
Good evening, sir. Sorry po, ngayon lang po ako nakapag-say. Sir, if I may start, good evening, sir. Ma'am, I am Claudine P. Coraming, assigned to report on Chapter 6, the Managing Change. At the end of my report, you are expected to obtain the following skills. Learning objective 6.1 is to describe making the case for change. Learning objective 6.2, compare and contrast views on the change process. Learning objective 6.3, classify areas of organizational change. And the learning objective 6.4 is to explain how to manage change, wherein know how to be change ready by overcoming your resistance to change. According to Albert Einstein, the measure of intelligence is the ability to change. While for Kelly A. Morgan, what can be controlled is how you manage and work through the change process. But according to Heraclitus, an ancient Greek philosopher, the only thing constant in life is change. Change is inevitable and universal. We are living in an age where the only constant is change. According to Heraclitus, it is impossible for a man to step into the same river twice for two reasons. First reason, one for the second time, it is not the same river nor the same man. Second reason is that in the interval of time between the first and the second stepping, no matter how short, both the river and the man have changed. This means, therefore, that change is a continuing and never-ending process, and all of us are affected by such. Since we are all affected by such, we cannot avoid it. Therefore, we must manage. After we define, we identify some definitions of change. To continue, we believe that most managers at one point or another will have to change some things in their workplace. We classify these changes as organizational change, which is any alteration of people, structure, or technology. Organizational changes need someone to act as catalyst and assume the responsibility for managing the change process, as our opener described. That is the change catalyst or change agents. Change agents can be a manager within the organization, but also could be a non-manager. In relation for ano lang po, iaano ko lang ho yung sa organization ng Navy. I believe lahat ho tayo is medyo familiar na in the simple word of managing change, because sa amin po sa Navy, sir, wala pong specific time or duration ang isang leader po namin to stay in his position. May mga times po na inaabot lang minsan ng a year or two. Tapos sobrang busy ng ano bang tawag doon, yung palitan ng mga management namin, mabilis pong ma-promote yung iba naman po is nagre-retire, mga ganun. So naniniwala ako na yung mga sa Navy po is na-practice po or medyo aware na po sila sa different change agent na nag-perform po sa amin. Ayun, kasi because who acts as catalyst assumes the responsibility in managing the change process. There are certain factors or forces that affects the forces for change. We have here the external forces and the internal forces. External forces are the people wherein new governmental laws. Sa amin, sir, to relate to ano lang po sa Philippine Navy, meron din pong instance na our flag officer in command is nakadepende rin po sa ipipwesto po ng ating president. Siya po yung pipili kung sino din po yung magiging pinakamataas sa amin. And also, another external force in the change management is the social, wherein social is the changing consumer needs and wants. Also, the technological forces. Alam na natin to, ito yung changing technologies. And then the other external force is the economic stimuli or the economic changes. Medyo hindi kami masyadong affected sa tatlong yun, maliban po sa political force with regard sa management po. While internal forces po na for change includes the new organizational strategy, change in composition of workforce, new equipment, and changing employee attitudes. Siguro yung mga internal forces na na-mention dito is medyo familiar sa mga private siguro. Pero basically sa AFP, meron siguro pero hindi malaking factor yung mga internal forces na ganito sa amin. Next is the compare and contrast views on the change process. In comparing and contrasting the views on the change process, there are two metaphors na i-describe po doon sa binigay ni Sir. And first is the calm water metaphor, which is fairly descriptive of the situation manager face. It's best understood by using Kurt Lewin's 3-step change process to be discussed po in the next slide. Well, the other view po on the change process, the white water rapids metaphor, wherein pace of change in our economic and our culture is accelerating and our visibility about the future is declining. To explain further the calm waters po, it includes the 3 steps. The first step is the unfreezing. This involves developing an initial awareness of the need for change and the forces supporting the unresisting change. The next, freezing is because most people and organizations prefer stability and the perpetuation of the status quo. A successful change process must overcome the status quo by unfreezing old behaviors, processes, or structure. This approach includes the use of one-on-one discussions, presentations to groups, memos, reports, company letters, training programs, and demonstrations to educate employees about an imminent change and help them see the logic of the decision. Deficiencies in the current situation are identified and the benefits of the replacement are stressed. Unfreezing. Hindi ko masyadong ma-relate, sir, sa Navy kasi dahil ang military culture ay nasanay na sa masyadong mabilis na palitan ng is hindi nasanay na sila to come up with a certain plan in a way na hindi na ma-freeze yung mga certain transaction sa Navy. So, pero ito, I believe, sir, yung ganitong steps is more common on a private organizations. And next step after the unfreezing is the changing, wherein this focuses on learning new behaviors. Change results from individuals being uncomfortable with identified negative behaviors and being presented with new behavior, role models, and support. Changing focuses on learning new behaviors. Change results from individuals being uncomfortable with the identity. In this phase, something new takes place in a system, and change is actually implemented. This is the point at which managers initiate change in such organizational targets as tasks, people, culture, technology, and structure. When managers implement change, people must be ready. Ayun. The next step is the refreezing. This centers on reinforcing new behaviors, usually by positive results, feelings of accomplishments, or rewards. Refreezing centers on reinforcing new behaviors. After management has implemented changes in organizational goals, products, processes, structures, or people, they cannot sit back and expect the change to be maintained over time. Behaviors that are positively reinforced tend to be repeated. In designing change, attention must be paid to how the new behaviors will be reinforced and rewarded. Yun. So, basically, this is three-step change process means every transition begins with an ending, a loss. When things change, people leave behind the way things were and the way they were in the previous situation. They may be left searching for a new way to define themselves. The next metaphor under change process is the calm water. Ito. Calm water or white water rapids metaphor is like the pace of changing in our economy. And our culture is accelerating and our visibility about the future is declining. It's also consistent with a world that's increasingly dominated by information, ideas, and knowledge. Another change process is the reactive change process and the proactive change process. According dun sa, for example, na nakalagay dun sa material na binigay ni Sir, reactive change process is reacting to the situation. Wherein, yung reacting to the situation is if, for example, dun sa libro na material na binigay ni Sir, ang example nila is if there's a course na mahirap, tapos ang student ay ang ginawa nila ay dahil feeling nila mahirap yung course na yon, ang wala silang ginawa is mag-worry lang. Tapos pagdating ng exam, syempre dahil ang iniisip nila ay mahirap yung course, basically ang naging output or outcome ng exam nila is hindi maayos. So ang tawag sa ginawa nila ay nag-react lang sa situation, reactive change process. While proactive change process, the students knowingly na mahirap yung course, before the exam is nag-effort sila or takes the initiative right away, knowing na mahirap to yung exam, is nag-effort sila to conduct group studies, nagpatulong sila sa professor to further understand the subject. So basically, dahil nag-initiate sila beforehand na mag-advance reading or mag-initiate to do something na makaka-ano sa hindi mahirap daw yung course na yun. Basically, during the exam or after the exam, maayos or maganda yung naging resulta ng exam nila because ang change process na ginawa nila ay proactive. For example din po sa Philippine Navy, in a way ng management po, reactive change process, reacting to the situation pa rin naman. Pero I believe yung pag-react ng mga Navy officers po namin ay in a good way naman po. Hindi yung katulad ng example kanina na hindi pumasa. Yung plain example lang na wala lang silang nagawa dun sa pagpapalitan ng management, pero yung initiative nila to adjust to the new management is andun pa rin po. So parang sa Philippine Navy halo, hindi ko masyadong ano. Pero yun po yung example ng reactive and proactive change sa in terms dun sa mga students. Next is to classify areas of organizational change. Here are the 4 types of organizational change. First is the strategy, wherein modifying the approach to ensuring the organization success. Second type is the structure, structural components and structural design. Technology, work progresses, methods, and equipment. And last is the people, attitudes, expectations, perceptions, and behaviors. Strategic, sometimes in the course of normal business operation, it is necessary for management to adjust the firm's strategy to achieve the goal of the company or even to the change mission statement of the organization in response to demands of the external environment. Dito sa example, sabi nila, sometimes just to go with the flow sa change ng management, pinapalitan nila pati yung organization mission nila. Pero sa atin, hindi eh. Sa Philippine Navy po is ino-continue ng susunod na management kung ano yung existing mission na na-establish before pa. Adjusting a company's strategy may involve changing its fundamental approach to doing business, the markets it will target, the kinds of product it will sell, how they will be sold, its overall strategic orientation, the level of global activity, and its various partnerships and other joint business arrangements. While organizational change, organizations often find it necessary to redesign the structure of the company due to influences from the external environment. Structural changes involve the hierarchy of authority, goals, structural characteristics, administrative procedures, and management systems. Almost all change in how an organization is managed falls under the category of structural change. A structural change may be as simple as implementing a no-smoking policy or as involved as restructuring the company to meet the customer needs more effectively. In this, hindi ko, sir, correct me if I'm wrong lang, kung considered as structure change po yung sa Navy in a way na, kung dito sa example is no smoking policy. Sa Navy, sir, meron yung instance na merong pinakamataas namin na mag-i-implement ng no tattoos. While others naman, sir, ay nag-a-allow sila ng may certification lang. Magpo-fall kaya ito yun, sir, sa structure or
Yes,
stick po siya
ma'am.
sa physical, ayun.
Yes, ma'am. Regardless if it's tangible or physical or
Yun.
anything po, no? Actually, you could relate strategy to structure because you can never put structure without strategy, no? But those structures, in terms of its words, obviously, physical siya. Akala natin physical lang, but you can put strategies that not worth any penny, no? So those strategies would lead to structures that develops or may develop the business group or organizational change po. Examples is yun nga, putting some guidelines or new policy on the current or established policy, no?
Ay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yun. Thank you, sir, sa po. And the next organizational change is the technology. Okay. process oriented changing. The adoption of robotics in a manufacturing plant or of laser scanning checkout systems at supermarkets are examples of process-oriented changes. Ayun. Technology again, just like Sir sabi, tangible or intangible. Siguro ang naaalala ko dito sa technology change na to, meron po kaming dumating na yung change agent namin na mas prefer nila yung mga soft copies. So, yung aming mode of communication during the time is prefer nila yung mga soft copies or nagpagawa ng system para ma-eradicate yung mga hard copies or documents namin. Simple example lang siguro sa Navy. The last type of organizational change is the people or the people-centered. This type of change alters the attitudes, behaviors, skills, or performance of employees in a company. Changing people-centered processes involves communicating, motivating, leading, and interacting within groups. This focus may entail changing how problems are solved, the way employees learn new skills, and even the very nature of how employees perceive themselves, their jobs, and the organization. Some people-centered changes may involve only incremental changes or small improvements in a process. For example, many organizations undergo leadership training that teaches managers how to communicate more openly with employees. Other programs may concentrate on team processes by teaching both managers and employees to work together more effectively to solve problems. Remember that strategic, structural, technology, and people-centered changes occur continuously in dynamic businesses. Often, changes in one of these areas impact changes in the other areas, just like kung sinabi sa. Many employees believe that a change is often reactive and nothing more than a quick fix. Then they brace themselves for more changes in the future. Management needs to realize that serious underlying problems in organizations must be addressed with long-term consequences in mind. Thus, when management implements changes, careful thought must be given to ensure that the new processes are for the long-term good of the company.
I actually had to add, actually, if you will go back and you move to the previous screen. Actually, nabitin to, no? Itong, if you would see the structural or the types of organizational change na chart, kulang siya. Dapat yung people, nagko-connect din siya sa strategy. And if you connect the people to strategy and then so for the structure technology, forming a circle process, you could consider this as a Japanese term or as a style, which is the Kaizen, if you're not familiar, which is solely means or tells us for, if you're owning an organization or if you aim for continuous improvement, no? That's how structural nowadays are, are model, no? Na-adapt na nila yung Japanese style kasi nakikita nila na very successful regardless if it's SME or corporate style. You can now proceed for the next slide.
Thank you, sir. Under classifying the organizational change, organizational development is the term used to describe change methods that focus on people and the nature and quality of interpersonal work relationships. There are popular organizational development techniques. First is the sensitivity training, survey feedback, process consultation, intergroup development, and team building. last learning objective is that why do people resist change? I've listed some reasons why people resist change based on the na-search lang ako sa iba, tas binasa ko din yung sa material ni Sir. First possible reason is that a vested interest in the status quo, or in a change in the status quo affects their safe haven. Ayun, masyado tayong sa comfort zone natin. Ayaw natin lumabas sa comfort zone natin. Next reason is fear of the unknown. Most want to be in control of their destinies. Hence, the unknown is intolerable. Habit. When things become of second nature, we tend to sanctify them as the right way to do things. Dahil nakasanayan na natin yung ganitong klase ng process, ayaw na natin siyang palitan, ayaw na nating acceptin na may nagbago na pala sa technology natin or may nagbago na pala sa strategy na kailangan natin i-improve. Also, the tradition, closely linked to habit. Although habits are personal, well, tradition is passed on from individual to another, and in organization, it is synonymous with corporate culture. Basically, ito siguro yung pinaka na natin sa Navy, the military tradition. Maraming military tradition na na kailangan na sigurong palitan. Pero dahil nga yun yung tradition sa AFP or sa military ay hindi natin trinatry na palitan. Fear of increased responsibility. Change additional responsibility. Low propensity for risks. Most people are only willing to assume a small amount of risk. Not risk taker, but risk averter. Economic losses. Some perceive change as a threat to their economic well-being. And last reason why people resist change is the resistance to technology. Faced with new high-tech methods and processes, employees are apt to feel unable to keep up. Dati siguro nung way back 90s, yun siguro yung nahihirapan pang mag-adjust sa technology. Pero I believe nowadays, medyo sa sobrang advance ng technology natin, madali na rin nating natututunan na mag-keep up sa technology. Kung before ay typewriter, ngayon naka-computer na, laptop na, and more likely meron pang mas nai-improve or nade-develop na mga mas advanced na technologies. There are some techniques for reducing resistance to change. First technique is the education and communication. When resistance is due to misinformation. May mga ayaw nating i-accept na change because mali yung dumating sa atin na information. Like, siguro yung sa computer, ang sasabihin nila dati, ay, maano yan sa radiation, kaya ayaw nating itry. Pero the advantage is clear up misunderstandings, and then disadvantage may not work when mutual trust and credibility are lacking. Na ano na natin yung credibility ng advancement ng computers nowadays. So, through education and communication, through proper communication and education, madali na tayong makaka-cope up or cope up sa changes natin. Another technique is the participation. When resistors have the expertise to make the contribution. Advantage of using the technique participation is it increases involvement and acceptance. Disadvantage, time-consuming, has potential for a poor solution. Another technique is the facilitation and support. When resistors are fearful and anxiety-ridden. The advantage of this kind of technique is that can facilitate needed adjustment, while the disadvantage is expensive and no guarantee of success. Why? Next technique is the negotiation. When resistance comes from a powerful group, advantage can buy commitment, and the disadvantage is the potentially high cost opens doors for others to apply pressure to. Another technique when used is a powerful group's endorsement is needed. Manipulation and co-optation. And ang advantage nito, unlike the others, it's inexpensive, easy way to gain support. But the disadvantage is can backfire, causing change agent to lose credibility. Manipulation. Last technique to reduce resistance to change is the coercion. When a powerful group endorsement is needed. Also, the disadvantage is that it is inexpensive and easy way to gain support. Well, the disadvantage is that it may be illegal, may undermine change agents' ability. Ayun po. Techniques for when managers see resistance to change as dysfunctional. Several strategies. This technique, of course, assumes that resistance lies in information. Sir, tapos meron lang po akong na-search lang while nag-add ako ng data dito sa report. Nakahanap ako ng isa na assessing change management skills. Sir, pwede ko bang ipaano to sa inyo? Sir, ba't nawala?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Sir, good evening po. That ends po my assigned report, sir. But naka-search ako, sir, ng short assessment kind of how to assess po yung change management skills. Pwede ko po bang ipaano, sir, to? Actually, nandito naman na rin yung sagot. Sirs and ma'am, meron pong list of skills dito wherein we can answer it based on our experience po with
Let me know
never.
if you can, can we interpret it generically?
Actually, sir, meron po sa dulo yung explanation,
Oh,
yung
so there's a
parang
key points no,
analysis
after,
niya po.
okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Ayun.
what are the instructions?
You will rate yourself, sir, kung eto na ba yung pinopossess mo now.
Okay, will this take time
Always.
or can we do the screenshots and then afterwards you can give us the copy of the
Yes, sir.
analysis?
Yes, sir. Nasa dulo lang, sir. Hindi ko na po inanong.
O sige, wag
this
mo
is
ipakita. Sa messenger mo na lang ipakita after namin masagutan siguro.
Ayun, sige po.
I'll give a
Sa next-
signal siguro before
Ayan.
the end of tonight's session. We can, analyze ourselves based on the, yun nga, binigay mo na template. This is good.
Yes, sir. Ano lang po, we can
May premium ba
rate
to?
ourselves. Wala, sir.
Baka may premium to. Isisend namin yung Gcash namin,
Gcash.
Gcash.
Ayun.
So,
Pag may nako 100, sir.
may percentage ba to? Antoy lang ba to? So, okay. Antoy lang to?
This is 100 points.
100 item?
No, sir. 100 points, sir.
Okay, but
Ano lang
16
siya, sir?
items.
Sir, meron pa sa next slide. Kaya lang, sir, yung next slide, nandun na yung analysis niya. May katat ko na lang.
Okay. Sige, i-crop mo din. Bigyan mo kami ng, if you have a chance, no, you can give us a copy
Yes, sir.
through Messenger.
Yes, sir.
Even kahit lang, pictures lang, and then we do some notes na lang. And then,
Yes, sir.
maybe later, before the last reporter, you can send us, no? So we can have the results.
Yes, sir.
This is good.
Yes, sir. Yun lang po. We will evaluate ourselves lang po kung ito. I try to anticipate and for example lang, I try to anticipate and lead change within my organization. As for me na medyo hindi pa naman yung managerial level yung position ko. Siyempre, never siguro or occasionally pa lang sa akin, sa part ko. So sa inyo po, sirs and ma'am, you can rate yourself po o how kayo ho nagre-react sa mga questions ko based dito. And at the end po, meron pong ano ba, percentage and analysis po. Pag ganitong points na yung na-accumulate mo, malapit ka ng maging change agent. Ganun, parang
Magiging
ganun.
manager na ako, ganun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Makikita po di sa dulo yung manager po. Ayun. Parang,
But we'll answer this
may-
based on our personal preference, or we should answer
yes,
it
sir.
on
Be honest, sir. Be honest kung
honest lang.
yung sa'yo lang po.
Okay, this is good. Sige, we'll wait for your Ma'am Faye, edited na or crafted na images,
Yes, sir.
no? So we can answer
Yes,
it
sir.
individually, and mapajigas na lang kami sa'yo pag naka 100 ka.
Ayun, sir. Ayun. I-skip ko na lang po yung second page kasi andun yung analysis.
May dadaanan pa ba?
Sir. Ano lang, sir, na meron lang po akong konting conclusion dito based on my report. If people don't see a purpose for the change, if they don't have a picture of where they're trying to go, if they don't see a plan for how to get there, and if they don't see a part where they can play, they aren't likely to participate in the change effort. Parang ito na natin.
Yes.
Yun lang, sir, yung sa report ko po.
Thank you, Ma'am Faye. I guess to also add to your conclusion, no? People tends to work because of reward, no? Because regardless if it's fulfilling or could benefit them in terms of spiritually or physically or any other elements that could affect their lives, no? But at the end of the day, you have the freedom or choice to look for the person who you can motivate to trust in you. If you are a manager, no? If you're also as a person also and as a great individual, pipiliin mo rin kung sino yung kailangan mong habulin just in case you're on the status of having placed on the edge, no? You know who to call for or ask for help din, no? If you're needy, no? May saying nga tayo, sabi nila, yung mga may kaya, tulong silang tulong, pero yung mga may kaya na yun na tumutulong, hindi nila alam kung sinong tutulong sa kanila. So be mindful also, no, as a manager, to take care or to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot commit 100% as a great manager, no? Or you cannot decide effectively, accurately, or regardless of any factor, good factor, no? That's why you also good you not just embracing the change, but also a change is also taking care of yourself is also a part of a change, no? As a manager or as a leader, and that's a part of being a good leader and an element for a good leadership. So I guess that's the end. Any additional input or questions, queries? Kung magkano yung price natin mamaya kay Ma'am Faye? Or kailangan ba natin magbigay ng address para magpalalamove or grab? If there's none, Ma'am Sandra Lynn Dolot would be the next reporter. By the way, thank you, Ma'am Faye, no? Meron pang pa-Gcash sa huli, no? Talagang nakaka-excite na high moral yung report mo. So with that, Ma'am Sandra Lynn, you can now share your screen po for your presentation. If I'm not mistaken, this is chapter 8.1 to 8.5 or 4.
Yes, sir. Good evening. This is Sanrin Dolat, and I'll be presenting the chapter 8. But for that, I will ask my audio, sir.
It's loud and clear, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. I'm still in the office right now. Kasi may rally din kami para sa balikatan. But then I will do my task for the presentation of the chapter 8. And sir, I may close my video to avoid signal disruption. Sir, okay na po ba? Nakikita na po.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll be discussing the chapter 8, the planning and the goal setting, with the learning objective of 8.1 to 8.4. Of course, yours truly, Sarni Dolat. So the scope of my presentation, of course, as shown, introduction to the planning and the goal setting with the learning objective of the what and why we plan, having a skills outcome. So what and why planning, have to define the nature and the purposes of the planning. And the 8.2, we have the goals and plans. Our skills outcome will be, can classify the types of goals in the organization that can be used. Setting goals and developing plans. This is to where to compare and contrast of different approaches and setting goals or planning. And the last, which is the contemporary issues in planning, wherein everyone will able to discuss some contemporary issues when it comes to goal setting and planning. Okay. So, according to Davda, a key to success in management in your career is knowing how to set goals professionally and personally. So, as day one of our course, we were asked by Sir Brendan that what is your goal? What is your purpose having this masters? So everyone discuss and lay down our cards, what are our goals. So it seems in this topic, I can relate to it. So we will discuss the introduction. Goals is used to focus efforts, to have a motivation, and of course, building self-confidence of individual. And accordingly to the reference given to me, please bear with me with the reference that I have based given by Sir Brenda first. And hindi ako masyado nakahanap na sa labas due to the complex schedules. And here are some suggestions in setting goals. We have to identify what you'd like to do or achieve in important life areas. What are those important life areas? These are those our career, our family, our education, the physical or community involvement. So, importante daw, alam natin ang ating mga what we need to achieve. Second, make your goals actionable. So, when we say actionable, it should be, though marami tayong pangarap, pero we should identify relate to number one, mas maganda daw yung smaller, kumbaga ma-identify natin by focus para at least doable siya and achievable with a given time or period. Okay? So, wag kang, in short, wag kang gumawa ng goals na hindi mo naman kaya or not doable. Third, make your plans for reaching those goals. So, the number 3, this is the question is how do you answer how? How are you going to do that in order to achieve that goal? And fourth, we have to determine how you measure the progress to your goal. Okay? So, eto, sinasabi naman dito, this one, kapag may goal ka, na gawa mo na, then na-implement mo na, execute mo how it being done. So you have to measure, kumbaga, you have to assess if it is, are you in the track or out of the track. So, and the last, you have to review your goals periodically if it is still appropriate or not. Kumbaga, ito bang ginagawa mo ngayon or yung mga processes or what are you doing right now and where are you now is still appropriate doon sa goal mo or necessary pa ba? Kumbaga, itong sample na lang, itong lecture ba natin na to are still appropriate doon or related doon sa goal natin to learn what is management? Parang ganon. Okay? So, to continue, sir, in relation to the introduction of planning and goal setting, I have prepared a short video clip na naman so that everyone could understand since majority of us are in the AP. So first, I've choose video clips that related to us and it's all about the Vietnam War. So, yan. So, sir, may audio po ba?
Wala pa po, ma'am. Kindly check the view options, share screen option, and then share sounds or share audio.
Thank you.
Fire at will.
Narinig na po, di ba? Dinig na po ba, sir?
Loud and clear po.
So, with that, sir, yung itong pinakita ko kanina, na itong movie clips na to or short clips, it is a war between the communist government or the North Vietnam between the South with their Western allies, which is of course, kilala naman natin kung pag sinabing Western allies. To give emphasis on that, how the Vietnamese go about their planning and their goal to win. So the set goal, which playing important role in the Vietnamese strategy to defeat the enemies. So actually, these wars are kung bakit ko siya pinakita. One of the long or lasted war, which is lasted for 20 years, ending in 1973, because Viet Cong plan, they continue to rebuild their forces by upgrading their systems, particularly their logistics. Yun din pala, sir, kung ba't ko din siya kinuha because I'm in the position of the logistic support of the Philippine Navy. So, syempre, mas nakaka-relate doon at alam din ng mga kasamahan natin dito, sir. And with their goal mindset to remain steadfast in pursuing to prolong the war, and at the same time, to defeat the enemy. So, this, the Viet Cong, already they were very successful because they have a good plan. They are very familiar and knowledgeable on their environment, on their forest. So nakita naman natin doon how they plan and their subordinates follow their leaders, they listen to their leaders, and this is a collective effort of the team and the leaders and the troops. So which is they will able to protect their logistics from damage using the tunnel from that area or that environment. So in the view of some circumstance, correlating the context of Vietnam and US war into planning and goal setting, it's very much applicable because I do believe, sir, a good war planner, a good leader could effectively and efficiently use their personnel or the manpower, logistics, and the available resources, and the diligence of employment. Kaya napili ko siya din dito kasi one of the key factors or key consideration when you're setting plans or setting goals. So titingnan mo rin kung ano yung environment mo as mentioned by the chapter 7 kanina, kung ano yung environment mo, kung anong available resources, kasi the action must be doable, must be achievable. So you have to look at it if it is the resources is available in order to sustain, to provide that approach or that the leader could react or the manager to that subordinate. So in collective effort, the troops and the leader had one hand in hand working together to defeat the enemy. So much for that video, sir. So I'll be discussing the first learning objective, the what and why of planning. What is planning? So I already make an outline para it could easily understand by everyone. Planning involves defining the organization goals. So heto, sinasabi dito, we should know from the top management going to the down level of the organization, they should know what the organization should work for and what we are trying to accomplish. And at the same time, as an individual in the organization, we must know what is our role and how we're going to contribute to achieve the set goals. Okay? So ayun yung sinasabi dito, you have to define the organization goals. You should let your subordinates understand that goals so that everyone could contribute what are necessary to achieve that goals. Second, of course, we have to establish strategies. So I can relate it to our work. So how could you have established strategies? By being proactive. You look ahead, you anticipate. So, part of the strategies, yung marunong kang, kumbaga, yung sinabi kanina, reactive and na-react. So, I reactive and proactive. So, you have to be proactive. Kumbaga, partly, it has been a result of the collective discussion to become a proactive because having a brainstorming, you could collect those negative inputs, the positive inputs, because some people, they look outside the box. Considering all the parang, heto yung goal natin, heto yung plano natin, what if there is? So we have to have a strategies or approach to reach that goal. So we have to, sabi nga, be proactive. Then, develop plans to integrate. Dito, we develop plans to integrate in order that this to eliminate efficiencies and effectiveness. So yung tinatawag natin na why we need to integrate this collaborative effort na para yung idea nito, expertise nito, pag pinagsama-sama natin, magandang plano ang kalalpasan. And of course, if they have a good plans, if we have a collaborative effort, we could have a coordinated work activities. Okay? So planning means it's also a form of planning, a specific goals covering a specific time period or defined. So pag sinabing planning, it is formal, na may nakasulat na goals at kung kailan natin to dapat ma-achieve with a time frame given. Just like here in our organization, pag sinabi sa atin ng boss natin, kindly revise this policy. I want you to revise this policy and disseminate it to all the personnel of the Philippine Navy in 1 month. I want you to execute all these necessary things in a month. So yun yung sinasabi. So there is a goal to disseminate the policy, to revise and disseminate the policy in 1 month. Okay? Sabi nga, why do managers plan? Why do manager plans? Because plannings provide direction to managers and non-managers alike, reduce uncertainty, minimize waste and redundancy, establish goals and standards. So these are the important things why the managers plan. Sinasabi ng number 1 dyan, para meron tayong guide. Uncertainty. Avoid inefficiencies. Para yung mga possible na, sabi ko kaya negative, anticipate na natin yon. Minimize waste and redundancy. Kung natin yung letter C dito, makikita natin kung ano yung dapat ba at hindi dapat. Kumbaga, baka may nagdoble na may request dito sa requirement. So, may tatanggal na natin, yung ma-eliminate natin na isa-isa yun. And of course, we have standards. Pare-parehas tayo ng ginagawa, pare-parehas tayo ng patutunguhan, and how does it goes. Okay, parang yun ang gusto nating sabihin. So, these are the reason why the managers plan. So, in short, kanila, planning in performance generally shown positive relationship. It means the planning, if you have a good plan, you have a good output or the performance because it's associated with the positive financial results, high profits sa mga civilian o kaya industrial commercial. Ibig sabihin, kapag may positive financial results ka, ibig sabihin at na may high profit ka at the end result, you are a good planner. The manager is a good planner and you have a good collaborative effort with your subordinates. Pag dito naman sa organization, of course, at the end of every quarter, we have tinatawag natin na Papa Bear. So doon, pinapakita naman natin with one of our assessment evaluation, if you're on track, if you're performing accordingly, what is being programmed. So, letter B, these are doing good job in planning, implementing plan, plays bigger part in the high performance. So, yun na yung text yun. Kapag within track tayo, we have a high grades. And if we have a high grades in our performance in every unit of the Philippine Navy as a relief condenser, we have a high grade. So, ibig sabihin, meron tayong mga awards sa mga ating mga leaders. So, good planning performance relation is influenced by planning time frame. So, every plan na ginagawa natin, lagi tayong may deadline. Meron tayong nakaset time frame kung kailan natin siyang tatapusin. Okay pa ba, sir? Are you with me? Nakarinig pa rin po, sir?
Yes po. Narinig po po, ma'am.
For the Navy, eto sir yung sinample ko. Goals, objectives define as our desired outcomes or the targets, while the plans are the documents that outline how goals are going to be met. So pag sinabing goals, objective, ito po yung sa amin, sir, sa Navy. Kung makikita natin the left side, yung Philippine Navy na may 151 na barko, by 2028, we shall be a modern multi-capable naval force responsive to our maritime mission, defense, and development. So ito yung pinaka-desired outcomes, sir, ng Philippine Navy pagdating sa 2028. So, nakita natin bakit may nakaset na time frame by 2028, dapat hedo tayo. Yun ang pinaka-goal natin. So, ano yung plan natin na ginawa naman ng Navy para ma-achieve natin itong by 2028? And these are the strategic sail plan 2028. Tapos, at ang pinaka-detalyado nun, tinatawag natin na balanced scorecard. So, eto sir, nire-relate ko tong what is goal in the organization of the Philippine Navy and what is plan in the Philippine Navy. So, ito yung meron kami. Ito yung pinaka-libro namin. How we plan to achieve this goal by 2028. So that everyone can relate. Goals is our target, plans is the outline or the document. Laging sinasagot natin yung WH question and how. So, what is goals? Sabi nga kanina, these are the targets, plans, and the document. Types of goals. We have the stated and the real. Stated is the official statement what an organization says and what it wants the stakeholder to believe. nakita natin kanina doon, yung goal natin, we want to be a maritime mission that can be depend on. So yan ang gusto natin maasahan ng bayan atin by 2028. Yan ang gusto natin impression natin sa buong Philippine nation, sa buong bayan, sa buong bansa, sa buong mamamayan ng Pilipinas, even worldwide, of course. So what is real? An organization actually pursue as defined by the action of the members. So dito naman, ang marilate ko dito, yung balance scorecard natin. Are we on track? What are we right now? Where are we right now? So yun, kaya related that yung WH question. So yun yung real doon, real goals. On my part, as a logistician, asan yung realistic ko na goal in order to support that stated goal? What is my role to contribute? So yun ang ilalagay ko. So parang yung stated goal, yung pinakamataas, strategic, and the real goal is dun sa individual. Okay? Then, to proceed with, we have also the types of plans. So what are the types of plans? These are the strategic and the operational. So as I've mentioned, strategic kanina, plans that apply to the entire organization and establish of the organization overall. So it means, alam naman natin strategic, these are the type of management, and operational, yun yung mga implementer natin sa baba. Yung workforce natin. So we have sinasabi dito, operational area of the organization. Dito sa ating organization, yung tinatawag natin units in our term. So we have our different plans encompasses in order to achieve that stated goal. So also, accordingly, manager establishes plans with classified time frames. So these are the long-term and the short-term. Plans, sabi niya, in according to time frame criteria. So ano yun? Ito yun. Ang long-term are those plans beyond 3 years, maximum of 7 years. So pasok pa tayo doon kasi 2023 plus 5 years. So nasa long-term tayo yung sinasabi sa by 2028. Short-term, 1 year or less. So, yun yung mga plans natin. So, short-term or 1 year or less, po pwedeng papasok dito yung APB natin, program budget natin. So, 1 year or less naman, pag sinabi naman natin doon, yung mga LOI natin ng certain activity. So, there are different types of plans that categorize in this criteria. So, for the specificity, these are the specific and directional. The specific, plans that are clearly defined and leave no room for interpretation. Kumbaga, specific, heto nang sabi ng boss ko ngayon, ito yung gagawin mo, wala ka nang sasabihin, and this is all I want. Okay? Specific na siya. Parang yung sinabi ko kanina, I want you to disseminate this policy, revise this policy in this minute. As instruction, very specific to revise and disseminate. Okay? So directional plans that are flexible and set optional guidelines. So what would be my directional plans to revise that policy? Of course, on my own part, based dun sa sinabi ng specific plans na sinabi ng boss ko, of course, what I'm going to do, I'll conduct a focus group discussion, I should plan how am I going to achieve it, na binigay sa akin 1 month. So mag-FGP, ilang beses, ilang linggo ako mag-research, lecture for dissemination. So that, yun yung how does it go, directional. It also says here, manager develops and use only once in frequency. So kanina, time frame, specificity, and now the frequency. So the frequency discuss the single use and the standing. The single use one-time plan is specifically designed to meet the needs of unique situation. And the standing, these are the ongoing plans that provide guidance for the activities performed repeatedly. Hetong single use na to, ang may hilintulad ko din sa organization, ito yung mga LOI natin. Sample na lang, sir, by this May, we'll be having our Philippine Navy anniversary. So the higher headquarters or this headquarters, naglabas kami letter of instruction. How could we successfully or what are the activities need to be done by different units of the Philippine Navy. So the standing plans would be there. Each unit has different tasks. Level, they also make their aim plan to deliver or to comply with that higher quarters guidance. I hope may nakikinig ba sa akin?
Yes, ma'am, medyo naglulungol yata yung audio. Sa mga biglang kumita.
Sir?
Medyo may time na frequently, ma'am, na lumalakas po yung audio nyo and then same time, humihina rin po.
Okay, sir.
Don't
So
know
yung-
if it's about
Thank you,
the
sir.
microphone
Yan, sir.
or
Okay na po, sir.
yan po.
Okay na po.
medyo malinaw.
Yes, sir. Dinikit ko na po yung microphone, sir, sa bibig ko. Sir, so yung binanggit ko kanina, types of plan is illustrated this way. We have different types of plans in according to the criteria, according to breathe, according to time frame, according to specificity, and according to the frequency. So when it comes to breathe, sinasabi natin level, yung strategic and operational. When it comes to time frame, criteria that is long term and the short term. When it comes to specific, sinasabi natin either directional or specific, and the frequency of usage, that could be a single use or a standing. So these are the different types of plans according to the criteria of breathe, time frame, specificity, and the frequency. So let us proceed for the chapter learning objective number 3. So setting goals and developing plans. How are we going to set goals and develop plans? To make things doable, measurable. Sabi nga kanina nung chapter 7, SMART, di ba? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timeable. So every plan, every goal must be doable and achievable. So the goals provide us direction to all the management decisions and actions in the form, of course, the criteria against which actual accomplishments are measured. So makikita natin dito, malaking influence. One of our consideration is ang goal natin, nakabase doon yung decision ng bawat isa at kung ano yung kailangan natin gawin. At ano yung dapat nating criteria i-consider. Kumbaga, kung ikaw yung pag ikaw na sa organization, ang criteria mo, timeliness. O, diba? Isa yan. Sasabihin natin, accessibility, when it comes to logistics, real inventory, kumbaga real time. Yan, yung mga ganun yung mga criteria natin. So pag ang company naman, meron company profit, driven. O, diba? Sa organization naman, since services ang binibigay natin dito sa Navy, of course, by output driven tayo. Kung ano yung sinabi natin doon sa may pinaka-stated goal. So how are we going to approach in setting goals? So this is going to answer the question, how? Approaches of setting goals. We have the traditional. This approach of setting goals in which the top manager set goals that then flow down to the organization and becomes top goals for each organizational area. So para nakikita natin dito, si traditional, para siya dictated, may sinasabi na ito yung gusto ko, kagaya ng sample ko kanina. So ngayon, yung pinakagusto ng big boss or kaya higher quarters, it will go down to the low level, from top management hanggang sa pinakamaliit nating subordinates. Kaya lang, sabi nila, there's a downside of this goal setting. As the illustration stated, sabi ng top management, ang kanyang guidance, we need to improve the company's performance. So, performance-driven yung top managers. So, ang sumunod naman sa kanya, yung division manager, sabi niya, I want to see a significant improvement on our division profits. So, sabi naman ng division manager, dahil gusto ng CEO natin, magtaas ang performance natin. So, kailangan mataas ang kita natin. So, ang sabi naman ni department, increase profits regardless of the means. Wala akong pakialam kung paano natin gagawin to, pero kailangan natin to i-increase ang profits regardless kung paano natin gagawin to. So, parang ganon. sorry for the word na wala akong pakialam, pero parang ganun yung pagkaintindi ko because there are some managers and there are some leaders na may ganun pa rin talaga nag-i-exist. Kumbaga, I don't care what you're doing now. I don't care kung anong pakiramdam mo ngayon. So what kung masama yung pakiramdam mo? 'Di ba? Parang may mga ganun eh. Basta ang gusto ko ma-deliver mo tong output na to within the day. So may mga ganun. So di nila na-realize, it really affect the performance of the output of the goal of the company or the organization. So pag ikaw naman yung tagagawa, ang sasabihin, okay, fine. Whatever the quality, basta importante makaubos ako ng makarami ako magagawa ngayon. Importante ma-deliver ko tong compliance ko kay sir, regardless kung maganda ba to o mali yung nagawa ko o tama. So nagiging yun ang mga downside ng sinasabi nating traditional. So etong dinidiscuss ko, some are related to our work, some are related to some mga civilian industries, organization, and some personally. What we have sometimes experienced or nakikita natin yung mga leaders o kaya managers na nakita natin we experience negatively, magkano ang dolyar ngayon? O magkakano yung gagamitin natin raw materials, maapekto na naman ang costing natin ng ating mga produkto sa merkado. Okay? Tapos sa atin naman sa organization, oh my goodness, tumaas ang poll ngayon. Maapektuhan na naman yung isuswipe natin sa Flipkart. Ganon. So yung dating allocation ko na 50 liters dahil tumaas ang market price ngayon ng fuel, makukuha ko na lang ng 40 liters. Mga ganyan. Then of course, as a manager, you should learn to plan. Lagi kang hindi nawawalan ng plano. Lagi ka rin marunong magplano at lagi kang nagpaplano. Okay? Should teach their employee how to set goals to plan and then to trust them. Of course, as a leader, you have to trust your personnel. Before trusting them, actually ginagawa natin yan, sinusubukan natin sila. After that, but tinuturuan natin sila, in-orient natin sila. Actually, sir, ginagawa namin ito. Pag may bagong report sa amin, we orient them. And then, pag na-orient na namin, eto, try mo to gawin. After may gawa, naturuan. Then, kapag okay na, kahit pwede mo na siyang iwanan at pag natuto na. So, we set goals dun sa tao natin. We plan kung paano natin siyang turuan bago natin siya pagkatiwalaan. Okay? To continue, how manager can use environmental scanning. This in the form of competitive intelligence can be helpful in finding out what competitors are doing. So ito yung sinasabi na environmental scanning. Paano? Yung mga digital world natin. Yung mga makikita natin sa Facebook. Uy, malakas ang benta sa stock markets. Malakas ang benta ni Usually yung itong mga innovation, malakas ang benta ngayon ni Apple kaysa ni Samsung. So ano kayang ginawa niya? So, ano kaya yung future innovation niya? Kailangan ko maunahan siya. So, yung mga ganon, dapat magaling yung intel mo dyan, spy mo dyan. So, yun yung ganon yung sinasabi. Kumbaga, sa AAP naman, in every plan natin, meron pa rin tayo mga security purpose na sinasabi ko. Sabi nga, spy. Someone at the backbone of our plan na continuous monitoring that internally supporting and guiding us na that we're still in the track. Okay, para at least yung plano natin, alam natin, nasa peligro na tayo, when to execute, or kailangan na natin iabangin ganitong alternative plan. Kasi kapag pinasok na tayo dito, so usually, sir, dito sa amin, yun nga, yung mga cybersecurity. Okay? So, yun lang naman yung pinoprotektahan naman namin dito sa organization. But, of course, in the market, na civilian, yun yung mga sales nila, marketing strategy nila, ano yung kanilang future innovations. So how digital tools can be used to assist planning activities? It is an organization gather business intelligence using a variety of digital tools to collect and analyze quantitative and qualitative data through visualization tools, cloud computing to support decision making. So ito yung mga tinatawag natin pie chart, bar chart, graphical representation kung nasaan na tayo ngayon. So that are the contemporary issues in planning. So we have 3 questions to consider. How manager can plan effectively in the dynamic environment. Of course, we have 5 guides. And how manager can use the environmental scanning with the help of our security, with the help of our spy. And how digital tools can be used to assist in planning activities. These are the graphical representation, your performance, your output, doon mo makikita yung comparison to support your decision making in making plans in achieving those goals. So, and to end, as a logistician, I will share short movie clips. Actually, itong i-share kong short movie clips. Actually, sir, paborito ko to siya. Actually, itong great leader na to, a great manager, a good leader, good war planner. I also actually pinangalan ko pa yung anak kong lalaki after his name, which is si Alexander the Great. How he planned to win the war, how he used the capability, the personnel, the logistics to win the war of Macedonia. So please bear with me para makanood tayo. Para gusto ko lang i-share kung ano yung parang, ano yung magandang resulta kapag you have a good leader, you have a good manager, you are a planner, and a clear goal setter. Okay? Yes, sir. A great planner is a great leader. May audio po ba, sir?
Yes po ma'am, meron po. Yun lang po.
Thank you, sir.
An army's logistics system has always been crucial to its success, and Alexander's army was no different. His great conquests would never have been possible without the skillful organization of his forces throughout his campaigns. So, in this episode, we shall cover the logistics of the Macedonian army. Our story starts with the logistics of the Greek armies of the classical period. When fighting fellow city-states, the armies usually followed certain conventions. They would leave their home city and travel to an agreed battleground suitable for phalanx warfare. They would then engage their enemy in battle before returning home. The armies were not intended to stay out in the field for long durations. Thousands of non-combatants, attendants, women and slaves travelled with them, sometimes outnumbering the soldiers. That dramatically reduced the army's speed and mobility, and every follower meant an extra mouth to feed. Furthermore, the Greek armies used ox carts and wagons, and this inevitably impeded an army's speed and mobility further. The throat and girth harnesses severely damaged the animals, and rough terrain easily hindered the carts. This system was therefore designed only for short distances and slow movement. Philip realized that things needed to change, and made sweeping reforms to the Macedonian logistics system. He aimed to create a system that prioritized his army's sustainability, mobility, and speed. Fortunately for him, Philip had a suitable precedent in the Greek commander Xenophon, who decided to burn his wagons to lighten the load of his army during the march of the 10,000 out of Asia some 50 years before. This greatly increased the speed and mobility of his force, and was crucial to the success of his march. Likely using Xenophon's success as a precedent, Philip forbade the use of ox carts and wagons in his army. Instead, he used horses as the prominent pack animal, the first time a Western commander had done this. It soon provided dividends, as it gave his army more mobility. Philip also increased the amount of supplies carried by his men on campaign. This included arms and armor, possibly even the sarissa, which could be detached into two sections to ease its portability. Each soldier would also have to carry rations, utensils, blankets, road-building tools, medical supplies, a 30-day supply of flour, and any personal possessions in a pack. Altogether, this would have weighed around 80 pounds. To further lighten his baggage train, the Macedonian king drastically reduced the number of non-combatants accompanying the army. Women were forbidden, while the number of servants was drastically reduced. Each cavalryman would have one servant, while for the infantry there would be one servant for every 10 Macedonians. These attendants would carry hand mills used for grinding grain, guy ropes for both bridge building and rock climbing, and their own bedding and rations. Not only was Philip's army now able to move quicker and inflict lightning strikes on opposing forces, but he could sustain his army in the field significantly longer than his mainland Greek counterparts. And so, just as with his infantry, cavalry, and siegecraft, Alexander inherited and made use of a logistics system that had been radically transformed into the most efficient of its time. In 335 BC, for instance, to crush a Theban revolt, his army marched from Lake Lychnidus to Boeotia, some 500 miles, in 13 days, catching the Theban rebels completely off guard. With his newly reformed logistics system supporting and supplying his army, in 334 BC, Alexander set forth for Asia. Yet fighting in Asia would prove very different from fighting in Europe. Alexander therefore soon adapted the logistics system he had inherited to suit his new theatres of war. One such area that gradually experienced improvement and alteration was the baggage train. Traversing the Persian Empire meant that Alexander needed to ensure his baggage train was well organized. Therefore, a transport officer, a skoidos, was placed in overall charge of the baggage train. The skoidos would manage the baggage train's defenses, marching order, the welfare of the pack animals, and distribution of supplies. Parmenion likely filled this role until his execution in 330 BC. A critical factor for a successful baggage train was the welfare of the animals, and although troops or servants carried many items in Alexander's army, they could not carry critical equipment such as tents, firewood, loot, and perhaps each man's sarissa when they did not expect to be fighting. This made the beasts of burden essential. Horses and mules remained the predominant pack animals within Alexander's army. Yet he would also incorporate another animal to carry supplies, the camel. Introduced into Alexander's army in either Syria or Egypt, the camel played a critical role in Alexander's conquests. While the horse or mule carried 200 pounds of supplies over a long distance, camels were able to transport 300 pounds. They were also well suited for traversing arid terrain, having barely any limitations on what they could eat and drink if necessary. All that made them the ideal baggage animals for Alexander's marches into the Persian heartlands and beyond, lands where the need for speed across harsh deserts was critical. Throughout his campaigns, horses, mules, and camels remained the engine of Alexander's Macedonian baggage train. Their speed and endurance were much greater than oxen, and this suited his desire for light, fast marches across harsh terrain. He would recruit these animals throughout his campaign. They were then spread throughout his army to supply the men, animals being attached to every Decus unit. Yet Alexander could not maintain this highly mobile baggage train during the entirety of his campaign. At times we hear of carts being temporarily reintroduced into Alexander's army, most notably in Iran. However, just as Xenophon had before him, he soon had most of them burned to avoid them hindering his army in harsh terrain. A few carts inevitably remained and were tasked with transporting certain heavier essential items, most notably siege machinery and the wounded. Alexander would make one other critical change to the Macedonian baggage train. As he and his army marched further and further away from the Mediterranean, it became clear to Alexander's soldiers that it would be many years before they would see their wives and children again in Macedonia. Alexander therefore permitted women to travel with the baggage train again. Alexander even allowed his soldiers to marry captive women. They would have children, and the baggage train swelled in size. Although a radical change from his father's logistics system, and one that undoubtedly slowed down Alexander's army, it was necessary. Philip's ban had worked because his men had been able to return home after each campaigning season to see their loved ones. Alexander's men could not. Nevertheless, even with this change, Alexander always prioritized having his army be as light as possible throughout his campaigns. For him, speed and mobility were key. Another equally important task of the Skoidos was distributing rations to the troops, most notably food and water. Grain products were the major staples of a Macedonian soldier's diet. Wheat, barley and millet all were available throughout Asia and India. Not only were they easily portable, but once these products were dried, they could be stored indefinitely. From their ration, each soldier would use the grinding mills carried by the servants to create flour and, after that, make bread. It is also possible the Macedonians consumed grains in the form of biscuits and porridge. Yet the Macedonian soldiery did not live solely off grain products. Whenever possible, they would also eat dried meat, salted fish, and shellfish to supplement their diet. Meat, however, was rare, and more often the soldiers turned to various kinds of dried fruit, such as figs and dates, both readily available throughout much of Asia. Each Macedonian soldier would carry his food rations. While he was on campaign, these rations would usually be enough for 10 days. If Alexander wanted his troops to conduct a swift march, then the food each soldier would take with him was usually pre-cooked, mostly biscuits, fruit, and if possible, salted meat. This lightened the soldiers' pack, as cooking utensils were thus not required. Marching through Asia was undoubtedly hard work for a Macedonian soldier. Its consistently hot climate, countless deserts, and extensive barren lands would have been extremely taxing for any Macedonian burdened with arms, armor, and a heavy pack. Indeed, it appears armor was sometimes even discarded during these marches. Consequently, the requirement for sufficient calories and water was critical. Scholars assume that a minimum of 3 pounds of grain products, the equivalent of nearly 1.5 kilograms of bread, as well as half a gallon of water, would be needed to supply each troop in these conditions daily, some 3,600 calories. Meanwhile, horses and mules needed 8 gallons of water and 10 pounds of both grain and straw a day if they were to be kept in good condition. As for a camel, although the animal could survive multiple days with barely any water, the animal was most efficient if the Macedonians gave it 10 gallons of water a day. It would also require 10 pounds of grain and 25 pounds of straw. Acquiring supplies would prove anything but easy. For most of his campaigning life, Alexander and his army traversed the various terrains of inland Asia, lands on many occasions hostile to him and far away from seas and navigable rivers. This forced Alexander to acquire supplies via land. Transporting supplies over land was fraught with difficulty. There were few carts and pack animals available in many of these regions, and there was also the constant threat of banditry. Furthermore, most agricultural societies in the east did not have a surplus of food from which they could help supply Alexander's passing army. But Alexander evidently found a solution. Recently, a groundbreaking study by Donald Engels concluded how the Macedonian king most likely achieved this. Upon his arrival in Mesopotamia after victory at Gaugamela, Alexander's power and military prestige in the east became phenomenal, and soon many of the remaining Persian officials surrendered. Alexander realized he could use this to solve his supply problem. He sent messengers ahead of his army to meet the officials to secure arrangements for the army's supply through their territory, sometimes taking hostages to ensure the officials kept their word. Thus, Alexander secured his supply lines far in advance. When officials did not surrender to Alexander, he took a different approach. He would acquire intelligence about the region, information such as its topography, routes, climate, and resources, and he would then either launch a lightning campaign against the region with a small elite force keeping the main army back, or he would split his forces into smaller units that would gain supplies by either sacking settlements or foraging. These more destructive methods regularly occurred in the Persian heartlands. During the winter months, Alexander ensured his forces remained in a heavily settled, fertile area, usually adjacent to either navigable rivers or ports from where supplies could be more easily obtained. Thanks to his forward planning and charisma, Alexander was able to find solutions to the lingering threat of supply problems throughout his conquests. He had a plan for every scenario. There was, however, one occasion when this forward planning of provisions failed the Macedonian king. In 325 BC, Alexander marched his army across the Gedrosian desert. It proved the greatest logistical error of his life, costing thousands of lives. Some argue this devastating crossing occurred because of the man's pathos, his desire to outdo all before him, or out of revenge for his troops' earlier mutiny in India. Yet others believe Alexander simply made a mistake in his logistical planning. Alexander had expected his army to be supplied by the navy, commanded by Nearchus, as it made its way along the coast. Yet monsoon winds delayed the fleet from leaving the harbour in India for months. The result proved devastating for Alexander's men. Alexander and his army slowly withered as they crossed the desert. By the end, 75% of his force, mostly those in the baggage train, had perished. This was the exception in a campaign epitomized by many episodes of logistical brilliance. Alexander's campaign in both Asia and India required precise and advanced logistical planning, unlike any yet seen in antiquity. Its success was crucial to the survival of his campaign, a factor that is so often overlooked. We will cover other critical parts of Alexander's army in the next episode, so make sure that you are subscribed to our channel and have pressed the bell icon.
So, sir, so that's all about the goal planning and setting. So what I've shown to you as movie clips, a great leader, a great planner is a great leader, wherein he possesses the attitude that he set goals very clearly. And whereas Alexander the Great, he used a good procedure, strategy, and systems, and considering the criteria or his objective to maintain the sustainability, the mobility, and the speed of his campaign. In fact, he was able to hit the weaknesses and the strength of the enemy, where kung saan niya nakita, including the changes on the very dynamic environment of his campaign. And at the same time, he was able to plan it well by utilizing or the maximum utilization of his available resources na meron siya. At even the finest factors, yung napakita doon kung ilan yung isang camel, ilan ang kaya niyang capability or the characteristics ng kanyang tao. Tapos yung tao niya, kung ito yung kakainin, ilan yung consumption, tapos ilan yung strength power na maibigay niya pag ito yung kakainin. So, pati yung mga ganong nitty-gritty he considered. So, he has, so nabanggit nga doon na he always, alternative plans, he always plan in every scenario na mangyayari sa kanya. So, pinakita ko dito, he's a good planner, he's a good leader, he laid down all the cards to his, the strategies, and pinag-isipan niya lahat. Parang planning is ongoing process, he makes some plans that actionable, measurable, and according at yung impact, kung ano yung impact ng available resources to execute or to won the campaign. So, that's all, sir. So, about my presentation, how to be a good planner or how to be a good a goal setter in your own way, or considering the factors, or how could you deliver in contributing the output of the organization or in a company. What is your role? How you set your goal, how you set your plan, how you make everything in align with the organizational objective or targets. So that's it for the answer for the chapter 8. I
Good.
hope I was able to contribute
Good.
to this class and kung ano yung pinaka learning objective natin. to classify, to discuss, and what are the approaches and the purposes of good planning and goal setting in management. Thank you, sir.
Very good, very good. Ano pa ba? Wala na, parang piling ko nasagot na lahat. Ewan ko na lang. Actually, hindi lang natin masyado ma-appreciate yung video, no? Pero if we go back, that's BC, no? Right now kasi, alam natin, may mga tawag dito, refueling or non-disposal na rockets na, no? Pero if you look way back, nung time pa nila Alexander, no? Na-refresh din ako, and I did some brief research, no, on what he have done and what he have attained, no? But, ano pa ba? Wala na akong masasabi. Na-explain naman lahat, no? The chapter has been presented very, very good. I do want to, continue the report, but it's a bit late, and I understand your situation, especially those who presented, no? I guess it's a good, no? It's a good class for tonight, and hoping to see that kind of presentation again for the next meeting, no? Those are kinds of presentation na parang ano na siya eh. Tawag dito, self-explanatory na siya, no? So you don't have to guess or, rely or research for something just to absorb on the chapters being presented. Pero may nagre-request, no? May nagre-request na mabilis lang daw siya magpe-present. If it's amenable to you, it's 10:15 to me, no? Actually, the schedule is 10:30, but can we give away to Ma'am Liz so that she could finish na? O may nahabol yata si Ma'am Liz. Okay, sige. But anyway, I don't wanna waste time, no? But I would like to thank Ma'am Sandra Lindolot, no, for that kind of presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Very well presented po. The chapter is very well explained, no? So let's take a listen naman po for Ma'am Lizelle Parada. This will be the last presentation for tonight. So if you like to ask question, you can lay it down on the chat box so that we, sequentially share or exchange discussion on the topics or lay down questions on the chat box. So with that, now without further ado, the last chapter for tonight's presentation is chapter 9, and it was assigned to Ma'am Lizelle. Ma'am Lizelle, you can now take the screen po for the presentation.
Thank you very much, sir. By the way, sir, how's my audio po?
It's a bit, smudgy po. Pero
How about
let's see
this
po.
po, sir?
Yan po.
Okay na po ito, sir.
Kailangan natin ng mas malapit-lapit
Yan,
sa
so
atin.
inilapit ko na po, sir. Eto, sir, okay na, sir?
Yes po, ma'am. Ang ganda niyo po dyan.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you for allowing me to present. Actually, nung nag-present si squadmate ko, si Sandra, parang ayoko na mag-present, sir, kasi may nanalo na. But sige lang, since baka sa next meeting maging busy na tayo. And I would like to thank my classmate Janita Rosa for sharing my screen para po dire-diretso yung aking.
May floor director pa tayo, ma'am.
Sir, wait lang po ng natin. Share ko lang ulit kasi hindi nag-play.
Take time po. By the way, please to take time, no, to answer Ma'am Faye's yung assessment niya sa management.
Okay na, Liz.
Ayan. So, bumalik na ba ako?
Yes po.
Naririnig niyo na po ako. Ayan.
Yes po, ma'am. Clear na po.
Okay. So, book back one ka muna dun sa first slide.
Mas mahina yata yung Wi-Fi ko dito, Liz. Ayaw mo.
Sige. Bok, ako na lang pala mag-share.
Sige, sige.
Thank you for your help. Bok, Johnny, pwede bang i-share mo ulit? Kasi lumalabas sa screen ko, your internet is unstable. Pakitry mo nga po ulit. Ayan, so first slide ka, Bok. Ayan. So, ayan, sorry for that. So, my topic is about strategic planning. So, I know kilala nating lahat si Dr. To. Si Dr. To is yung ating consultant on Navy Strategy Program. At lagi niya sinasabi sa mga talk niya, sa mga seminars, workshop niya, we need to strategize or die. So that's how important strategy is. More so, familiar din tayo dun sa acronym na 5P, PAPA, no? Proper planning prevents poor performance. So this evening, I would like to give a refresher on strategic planning, though alam ko tayong lahat familiar na dito. Next book, please. So my references are as shown. Next book. So the scope of my presentation will cover the following 5 topics as shown. Medyo mahaba-haba po to, pero I have 18 slides lang po. So next book, please. So unahin na natin yung ating first topic about strategic management. So ano ba yung strategic management? Sabi doon sa book natin, this is what managers do to develop the organization's strategy. So classmates, no, pumapasok na tayo doon sa basic functions ng management, which is planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So kanina sinimulan na ni Sandra yung planning and then ako planning pa rin. So nagsisimula na tayo doon sa management talaga. So strategic management is identifying ano-ano ba yung mga dapat nating gawin, sino yung gagawa, kailan gagawin, at paano. So ang isang example nito is, though na-mention din ni Sandra kanina, is yung ating sale plan and balance scorecard. So mamaya i-check natin yan. So, next book, please. So, mahalaga ba ang strategic management? Of course, di ba? So, sabi nga, it can make a difference in how well an organization performs. Ang pwede nating maging example dito is yung, kung natatandaan nyo ng 1990s, yung BlackBerry na phone. So, siya yung pinakasikat na phone dati, noong 1990s. And then, early 2000, dumating si Apple yung sa iPhone niya. Pagdating ni Apple, biglang nawala sa market or naging konti yung sales ni BlackBerry. So, bakit ganun? Kasi sabi daw, BlackBerry stayed the course by focusing on business enterprise. And it made a little effort to help developers create apps for the BlackBerry operating system. So, doon siya natalo ni Apple. So, anong difference pa, no? Apple has excelled by effectively managing strategies, while BlackBerry has struggled by not effectively managing its strategy. So, that's how important strategic management is. Next bullet. Managers in organization of all types and sizes face continually changing situations. So, hindi ko na masyadong elaborate kasi kanina, diniscuss na ng mga classmates natin about yung sa change, managing change, and all that. And then yung third bullet, organizations are complex and diverse. So, because of strategic management, kahit complex and diverse ang organization and because of proper management sa ating mga organization, nagkakaroon tayo ng cohesion. So, next po. So, ito yung example ng strategic management. So, na-mention na rin ni Sandra kanina. So, dito, makikita natin kung naka-identify dyan kung ano-ano yung mga dapat gawin, nakalatag na sa plano, sino ang gagawa, kailan natin gagawin, at kung paano. So, next book. So, ito yung balance scorecard na part ng ating sale plan. So, dito, in example ko lang yung sinasabi ko kanina na kung ano yung mga gagawin, sinong gagawa, kailan, paano. So, it's just an example of it. So, next book. So, moving on to my next topic po, the 6 steps of strategic management process. Kung titingnan nyo po dito, yung identifying the organization's current missions and goals, very clear na yung discussions kanina. So, para mas maintindihan nyo pa, alam ko familiar na kayo dito, but it is just a refresher. So, para mas mag-gets pa natin kung ano ba yung strategic management process, I will show a video. It's about 6-minute video lang naman. But take note, doon sa video, it's a 5 processes lang. Bakit? Kasi ang ginawa niya, itong external analysis and internal analysis, pinag-isa niya, ginawa niya lang analysis of resources, parang sort of that. So, let's watch a video muna para mas maintindihan natin.
Strategic management can be defined as the process of planning, monitoring, analysis, and assessment of all necessities that an organization needs to meet its aims and objectives. Strategic management is based on an organization's clear understanding of its mission and vision, for where it wants to be in the future, and the purposes that will guide its actions. The process requires a commitment to strategic planning, which is a subset of business management that involves an organization's ability to set both short and long-term goals. Strategic planning also comprises the planning of strategic decisions, activities, and resource allocation needed to achieve those objectives. Having a defined process for managing an organization's strategies will help organizations make logical decisions and develop new goals quickly in order to keep pace with evolving technology, market, and business conditions. One of the major aspects of strategic management is to organize various functional areas of the organization effectively, as well as to assure these functional areas harmonize and get together well. Strategic management process. In general, the strategic management process typically includes 5 phases. Number 1. Goal setting. Fixing short-term goals is an excellent way to start, as they act as a direct blueprint in accomplishing long-term objectives. Separating roles and duties to people and team management should be carried out at this basic stage. The process provides every member of the enterprise with a mission that motivates them in the long run. 2. Gathering information and analyzing. The data gathered from within the organization and the market help in developing a constructive plan that acts as a foundation for strategic management. This method allows the company to recognize internal avoidances that have been affecting the operations of the organization. 3. Strategy forming. In this step, all the data and information collected are used to form a unique strategy that satisfies all the necessities and requirements. Based on the resources available, the business has to control the asset purchase and recruitment of experts. Identifying the capability of your resources becomes important in strategic management. 4. Implement the strategy. If the planning is the one side of the coin, then implementing those plans is another side of the coin. In this stage, the employees involved in this process should have a clear idea of the plan and organizational goals to be implemented with perfection. Number 5. Monitoring. The monitoring stage involves analyzing, managing, tracking, and evaluating every step that is associated with the strategic management plan. By this time, you can compare the desired outcomes with the current outcome. Here, you can do certain adjustments and new planning if required. Now come to the types of strategic management. The strategic management concept can be implemented in various ways. Here are two of the important strategies I will discuss. 1. SWOT analysis. This analysis allows you to inspect internal and external factors. Internal factors are basically the strengths and weaknesses that are present in your organization. External factors are basically the positive and the negative factors, which are opportunities and threats respectively that present outside of your organization. The SWOT method helps leaders decide whether the organization's resources and abilities will be useful in the competitive environment, and to improve the strategies to remain successful in this environment. 2. Balanced scorecard. Balanced scorecard aid you find which facets of your business require improvements, by breaking down the performance evaluation method into 4 areas known as legs. These areas are learning and growth, business processes, customer perspectives, and financial data. This method can generate timely reporting mechanisms that show all statistics associated with the growth of the company. Advantages of strategic management. 1. Discharges board responsibility. The first and the most important reason behind having strategic management is that it discharges the responsibility of the board of directors. 2. Provides a framework for decision making. The strategy gives a framework in which all staff can make day-to-day operational decisions, and ensure that those decisions are all moving the organization in a single direction. 3. Enables measurement of progress. Strategic management allows an organization to measure its success. In the setting of measures of success, the organization first decides what is crucial to its ongoing success, and then forces the establishment of objectives and holds these crucial measures in front of the board of directors and senior management. 4. Provides organizational perspective. Strategic management takes an organizational view and looks at all the components, and the interrelationship between those components in order to produce a strategy that is excellent for the entire organization and not a single component. Disadvantages of strategic management.
Wala ata.
Sir, putulin ko na yung video kasi na ano na siya, hindi na siya ganun ka-relevant. So, stop share ko na po, and then Bok Johnny, can you share again yung aking slide dyan? So, all right. So, thank you, Bok. So, sir, classmates, we're now moving on doon sa my third topic, no? The three types of corporate strategies. But before we proceed, let's take a look at the types of organizational strategy, which is corporate, competitive, and functional. So, the top-level managers, they are typically responsible for corporate strategies. And then si middle-level managers for competitive strategies, and then si lower-level managers for the functional strategies. In this report po, sir, we'll look at corporate strategies. So, next book. So now, what is corporate strategy? So, corporate strategy is an organizational strategy that determines what businesses, kasi nga, ano siya multi-businesses, what businesses a company is in or wants to be in, and what it wants to do with those businesses. Okay, next book. So there are three types of corporate strategies. Una po is yung growth. Sabi sa reference natin, growth is when an organization expands the number of markets served or products offered either through current or new businesses. So there are different types of growth strategies. Una dyan is yung concentration. So pag sinabi nating concentration, it focuses on its primary line of business and increases the number of products offered or markets served in this primary business. So anong example noong growth concentration? Ang mabibigay based doon sa ating research, ang mga gumagamit ng ganyang strategy ay si McDonald's, Subway, and Starbucks, wherein yung they target a specific target audience in one sort of products or service. Ang next type naman po ng growth strategy ay yung tinatawag natin na vertical integration. It's either backward or forward. For example po, si Walmart, no, yung sa a foreign supermarket, a foreign company. For example, si Walmart plans to build a dairy processing plant in Indiana, so sa another state, to supply private label milk to hundreds of stores. So in forward vertical integration, the organization becomes its own distributor. No? So yun yung ginawa ni Walmart. So sa kanyang vertical integration. Another example naman, si Apple naman po has more than 400 retail stores worldwide to distribute its product. Right? Sa horizontal integration naman po as part pa rin ng growth strategy, dito po is yung a company grows by combining with competitors. Ang example po natin dito sa horizontal integration is yung acquisition ni Facebook ng Instagram. So ngayon, nag-combine na sila, in-acquire na si Instagram ni Facebook. And then finally po yung diversification as another part of growth strategy. Sa diversification naman po, either related or unrelated. Related diversification happens, sabi dito, when a company combines with other companies in different but related industries. So next, so that's the growth strategy. The second type of corporate strategy ay yung tinatawag natin na stability. So by definition, it's when an organization makes no significant changes in what's doing. So kumaga, stable lang siya. Example of this strategy po ay yung, for example, yung continuing to serve the same clients by offering the same product or service. So maintaining market share and sustaining the organization's current business operations. So meaning the organization doesn't grow but doesn't fall behind either. So that's stability. And then the third type po ng corporate strategy natin is yung renewal. So sa renewal, meron tayong tinatawag na retrenchment and turnaround. Kapag po retrenchment strategy, it's a process through which you cut down all those products and services that aren't profiting your business. So kumaga, pag hindi na kumikita, ikakat mo na yan. It means leaving the market where your business can't sustain itself. So magre-result naman po yun sa sale of assets like product line or sometimes firing of employees. So yan yung sa retrenchment strategy under the renewal strategy. On the other hand naman po, yung tinatawag daw po na turnaround strategy is a form of retrenchment strategy. Bakwan ka muna po. Yan. When a company realizes that it has made wrong decisions earlier. So kaya nga, as the name implies, turnaround. Now, it needs to undo some of its work before it could impact the company's profitability and income. So ito po yung strategy na ginagamit where you retreat and back from the earlier made wrong decision and transform the company's position from loss to profitability. And then, so that's the corporate strategies. And classmates, if you would look doon sa mga open sources, marami pang mga examples ng growth, stability, and renewal. So, next slide, Bok, please. So, my second to the last topic po, so malapit na po, it's about competitive strategy. So, by definition po, what is competitive strategy? It is a strategy for how an organization will compete its business. So, bakit ba nagko-compete? Bakit ba may mga competition? Of course, para to win customers and increase profit. So, para mas malaki yung kitaan. So, competition strategy po ay long-term plan na ginagamit ng company to perform better than market competitors. Kasi kapag po na outperform natin yung competitors, it means building better relationship with clients and becoming the top choice or trusted brand within the market. So that's competitive strategy po, yung how the organization will compete. So maraming malalim pa ito. So but that's the definition. And then another topic po under that is competitive advantage. Ano ba yung competitive advantage? It's what sets an organization apart. That is its distinctive advantage. So, yung distinctive advantage mo can come from core competencies by doing something that others cannot do or doing it better than others can do it. So, there are different ways itong competitive advantage. So, pwede mong gamitin yung quality as a competitive advantage, design as a competitive advantage, and social media as a competitive advantage. So, yung quality, many organizations apply quality management concepts in an attempt to set themselves apart from competitors. So, for example po dito sa quality, so lahat naman po tayo nagkaroon ng bull ring, noong nag-graduate tayo. So, kung familiar po kayo kay Santi, saka kay Suarez, kasi nung time namin, sila pa lang yung kinukuhaan natin para sa bull ring. So, si Santi, hindi siya ganun kamahal, hindi rin siya ganun kaganda yung quality. Pero si Suarez, mahal siya kasi maganda yung quality. So, sino sa tingin nyo ang may competitive advantage? So, pipili lang po kayo doon. And then, next po is design, Design thinking as a competitive advantage. So, using design thinking means thinking in unusual ways about what the business is and how it's doing what its business to do. Example po natin dito is yung, meron po kasi yung mga toothbrush. So, si Oral-B, meron siyang electric toothbrush. So, yun yung design niya, So, it is easier to charge, especially kapag yung user ay on the road. So, it's convenient also. So, yun yung sa design, so yun yung pinaka-advantage niya over other toothbrush available sa market. And then, next naman po yung social media as, wait lang po, back one. Social media as a competitive advantage. So, successful social media strategy should help people inside and outside the organization connect and reduce cost or increase revenues possibilities or both. For example po, kung nagti-TikTok kayo, though sa Navy organization po sir, bawal po, may policy po na bawal ang TikTok, So pero sa TikTok kung makikita niyo si Doc Luna doon, yung isa siyang doktor na ginagamit niya yung TikTok para yung advocacy niya of helping others and then para makilala din siya and then para magkaroon siya ng maraming patients. Siya yung, joke lang po. Siya si Doc Luna. So, sa ngayon, okay na ulit siya, sir. Naka-recover na. Oy, si sir, follower ni Doc Luna. Si Doc Luna kasi is a pretty doctor, pero magaling siya and parang napaka-humble ni Doc. So, yun yung magiging example ko ng social media's competitive advantage. So ang challenge ngayon is how to sustain this competitive advantage. So we as managers, so dapat mayroon tayong plano on how to sustain this competitive advantage. So sabi ko nga, malalim yan. So pasadahan lang muna natin. Okay, next box please. So under competitive strategies, na-mention sa book na si Porters, meron siyang 3 competitive strategies. Classmate, diniscuss ko to kasi part ng learning objectives natin. So, may 3 siya. So, una, cost leadership strategy. Sabi doon, competing on the basis of having the lowest cost in the industry. Kasi, businesses can use to gain an advantage over the competitors by becoming the cheapest. So, pag pinakamura ka, no? Cheapest manufacturer or provider of a product or service within the sector. So, that's one of the strategy, no? The 2 main ways to achieve cost leadership are to reduce the overall costs of production and to make the manufacturing process more efficient. So, that's cost leadership. Next naman po ay yung differentiation strategy. Sabi dito, competing on the basis of having unique products that are widely valued by customer. Example niya ng differentiation strategy ay yung ginagamit ng French brand na yung bag na Hermes. So, lahat naman po tayo familiar dyan. Naalala ko si Sharon Cuneta, naging sikat sa social media kasi parang hindi siya pinapasok doon sa Hermes. So, si Hermes, ang galing ng strategy niya, ginagamit niya tong differentiation. Kasi nga, for example, yung bag na Hermes, social status kasi ng ladies yan eh. So, pagandahan ng bag talaga yung mga ladies. So, si Hermes, may mga approaches na ginawa siya na under the differentiation strategy. Like yung scarcity unang-una. Kasi si Hermes bag pala, handcrafted siya. So, not all the time may available na bag sa market. So, yun pala yung strategy niya, no? Pero kung titingnan po natin, ng isang Hermes bag po ay nagkakahalaga ng $40,000 to $500,000. So, in Philippine peso, yan po ay 2.4 million to 30 million. So, bakit maraming kababaihan pa rin or lady at heart ang bumibili ng Hermes bag? Kasi nga po, yan po ay sa culture natin, no? Social status na. So, yan yung ginagamit na strategy ni Hermes. Saka pala sa Hermes po pala, classmates and sir, mahirap maka-access doon sa shop nila. So, you have to wait to be invited pa pala. So, kung makikita natin si Sharon Cuneta before, hindi siya in-entertain kasi parang wala siyang reservation. And then, dapat nasa waiting list ka pa rin nila. So, it could take weeks and even months doon sa waiting list para ka lang makabili ng Hermes bag. So, ang ganda ng strategy ni Hermes. So, kahit mahal sila, binabalik-balikan kasi ina-apply nila yung differentiation as a competitive strategy. And next po is yung focus. It's competing in a narrow segment with either a cost advantage or a differentiation advantage. So, example po nito is yung Diet Coke, no? Diet Coke by Coca-Cola Company. The company made this product specifically for people having yung mga mataas ng sugar, yung diabetic. So, yun. Nag-focus sila doon sa isang target audience, yung mga diabetic. So, focus as a form of competitive strategies. Okay po. Next po, Bok, please. So, ayan na, matatapos ng classmate. The last topic is about current strategic management issues. And then, shown on the slide po is yung mga current strategic management issues. So, pasadahan lang po natin. Next slide po. So, ano ba yung strategic leadership? So it's the ability to anticipate, envision, maintain flexibility, think strategically, and work with others in the organization. So next box. Shown classmates is yung how are we going to apply effective strategic leadership. Please take a look po. Hindi ko na isa-isahin, pasadahan nyo lang po yung nasa below. And I know very familiar din po kayo dyan. Okay, next slide box, please. So the second strategic management issue naman po, it's about strategic flexibility. So ano ba yung strategic flexibility? So as shown po, it's the ability to recognize major external changes. Kasi nga, wala naman pong permanent. To quickly commit resources and to recognize when a strategic decision, isn't working. So there are ways to develop strategic flexibility. These are all self-explanatory. Next box, please. First, encourage leadership unity by making sure everyone is on the same page. Next box. Keep resources fluid and move them as circumstances warrant. Next, have the right mindset to explore and understand issues and challenges. Hindi ko na po elaborate kasi very siya, self-explanatory. Next po, number 4, know what's happening with strategies currently being used by monitoring and measuring results. 5th, encourage employees to be open about disclosing and sharing negative information. Next, get new ideas and perspectives from outside the organization. Next, have multiple alternatives when making strategic decisions. And then yung last po is yung learn from mistakes. So, to sum it up po, ito pa pala, yeah. Under current management strategic issues, meron tayong 3 important strategies in today's environment. E-business strategy. So, for instance, sorry. Ito sir, okay na po?
Liz. Okay na, Liz. Okay na.
Okay na po. Yan. So, konting na lang to. Sa e-business strategy naman po.
Wala si Ma'am Liz.
Hello? Okay na po?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sige. Sir, nandito daw ako, sir. Okay, sa e-business strategy naman po, a business might use internet-based knowledge systems to shorten customer response time. So, under po ito ng strategic management issue. And then sa customer service strategies naman involve giving customers what they want, communicating effectively with them, and providing employees with customer service training. So, very, very clear naman po. And then, marami rin po tayong ginagawang ganyan. Hindi na rin po yan bago sa atin. And then, next po is yung innovation strategies. Ang mahalaga po sa innovations is yung emphasis po sa timing. So, dapat tayo po ay yung tinatawag na first mover dito sa management na ito. So, next slide, Bok, please. Bok, next slide, please.
Ayaw na mag-move.
Ayan. So, sige, since ayaw na pong mag-move, sir, nasa last slide na po ako. No? So, last slide na po to. To sum it up lang po, we have discussed what strategic management is, what the strategic management process is, the corporate strategies that includes growth, stability, and renewal, Then yung fourth topic po natin, the competitive strategies like cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. And lastly, we have discussed po yung current strategic management issues like strategic leadership, strategic flexibility, and some important types po of strategies for today. So, sir, that ends my presentation for tonight.